Kia ora. Hello. Today, we're going to talk about why you might want to reenact. Now, I know this might be an odd subject for some of our viewers. However, stay with me. This is a perfect video to send to your friends and family who may be sitting on the fence about getting into reenactment. Otherwise, this is for those of you who are interested in history but don't reenact and wonder why we do so and might be interested. We're going to talk about our experiences as reenactors and why we reenact. We'll be hearing from other reenactors who will share their experiences with us. Then we will look at why I think that people should reenact if they have a passion for history. First, let me tell you my story. My name is Andrew. I research and recreate the middle class during the late medieval period. I have been interested in history and medieval period since I was a child. I used to read voraciously, and what was of the most interest to me was the descriptions of what people ate and the fashions. It all seemed so different and amazing to me, and when I grew older, that sense of fascination never left me. So I endeavoured to try to recreate the medieval food. I found some medieval recipes that someone had published online, and I did my best to recreate them for my friends. Now, this was in the early days of the internet, and where I lived, the access to ingredients was fairly limited, so I did my best. Little did I know, what I was doing at the time was engaging in experimental archaeology. What this did was scratch the itch that was gnawing at the back of my brain since I was a child. Finally, I began to understand slightly how medieval people lived. So I went on. Suddenly, it was as if a veil was lifted from my eyes. I realized all the things that I was told and saw about medieval food was wrong. People were not eating big shanks of meat or bland gruel. The food was complex and amazing. I had to know more. I needed to know more. What else was incorrect? So again, I began to read. I also found that were others like me who wanted to understand the past as I did, not just by observing from a book, but by doing and living the lives of people from the past. That they practice a whole range of skills from cooking to metalworking and more. I learnt these skills the best I could. This all led me to the late medieval period. Why I reenact the middle class is another video altogether. Now that you've heard from me, let's move on to some other stories, shall we?
Hello everyone, my name is Ian Laspina and I'm a reenactor based in the eastern US. I've been involved in medieval recreation for about 10 years now, and I normally portray an English man-at-arms in military service to a minor knight at the turn of the 14th and 15th centuries. Now, growing up, I had always been kind of peripherally aware of reenactment, had gone to see some American Civil War events as a kid, but it was never something I considered getting involved in. My interest in history in the Middle Ages, though, goes back much further than my actual participation in reenactment. When I was very young, I lived outside of the city in New York, and my parents took me to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Now, being a little kid, I was almost certainly not looking forward to the idea of spending a day looking at old paintings, but when I walked into the Arms and Armor Gallery and I was confronted by these towering figures on horseback wearing full suits of armor, that experience really captured my imagination. Now, fast forward a couple of decades and I had spent a good deal of time studying the period, but I found myself wanting a more complete experience. I started researching reproduction armor and was looking for an excuse to wear it when I heard about an event happening a few states away. Figured I'd take a chance, see what it was about, put together a basic kit, and along with some friends went to my first living history event. I saw firsthand how much fun an experiential approach to history could be. Not only are the events themselves fun to attend, but the hobby changes the way you look at history. You'll meet amazing people that share your passion, and when done with careful consideration, there's really nothing else like taking the information you learn in your research and seeing it realized as an actual usable piece of material culture. Feeling a 15th century plate armor on your body or tasting a carefully reproduced medieval recipe while looking around and realizing there's not a single modern thing in view, it makes history personal and human. It can give you an entirely different appreciation that may not be as easy to come by in a purely academic way, and having the opportunity to share that with other people is a very special thing, and that's really what did it for me.
Kia ora. Hello, my name is Ocean. I'm a living historian, fashion and textile historian, and textile worker, born in Meanjin in Australia, and now living in Orongomai in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I've been studying and working in the textile and fashion industry in various capacities since the early 2000s and have been interested in costume and history, particularly medievalism, since childhood. In the 1990s, I participated in my first reenactment group, reenacting the 13th century, called Avant Anglorum. To be honest, I had very limited material, social and academic resources at my disposal, and a similarly limited understanding of how to implement what I had. But I did have a lot of fun, and the people who were in the group were extremely enthusiastic, helpful and accepting, despite my many shortcomings. More recently, I've started reenacting the late 14th century Low Countries with my partner Andrew. I find the textiles and fashion of the period very interesting, particularly given how these were such a big part of the social and political changes happening in Europe at the time. As a reenactor, I like to create reconstructions of medieval textiles and clothing. I like to explore methods of textile and fashion production that may have been used in the medieval period by examining those from various contemporary sources and applying them in such a way as to replicate the original result. My particular focus is garment construction, fabrics and tablet weaving, and the people who produced these things in the Middle Ages. One of the reasons I reenact is simply for pleasure, since I've always enjoyed the experience of embodying an alternative person, thereby gaining a greater understanding of an alternative point of view. Another related reason, therefore, is to gain a greater understanding of history by both research and through experimental archaeology. I enjoy being able to share what knowledge I have thereby gleaned, hopefully helping people to gain a better understanding of a misunderstood period of history.
Hello there, my name's Nadeem, and welcome to a little piece of early medieval Central Asia. I focus on the Sogdians, a group of people living in what's now eastern Uzbekistan and parts of Tajikistan. Picture dramatic mountains and valleys, blue lakes, and arid grasslands and deserts, dotted all over with a network of towns and cities. But the Sogdians didn't just stay home. Oh no. They were everywhere in the early medieval world. They travelled as far west as Crimea and as far east as China, and even had contacts with the Koreans. They acted as diplomats, bureaucrats, artists, and their most famous role, merchants. In fact, they literally made the group of trade networks we now refer to as the Silk Road happen. But that's not primarily why I'm interested in them. I'm mainly interested in them because of this. For someone who enjoys art and visual culture, Central Asia between the 6th and 8th centuries has an incredible selection on offer. Wall paintings, wood carvings, luxury textiles and silverware, as well as some really cool manuscripts, all offer us a great portal into understanding the culture and worldview of the Sogdians. So what better way to appreciate it than to study it, copy it, and bring it back to life, right? In fact, this is also a really great way to learn about these objects and recontextualizes them as working, living objects, not simply artifacts to be kept behind museum glass. Not to mention, a guy in costume handling these replica objects is a really powerful teaching tool, literally giving a face and a name to an otherwise obscure, often overlooked part of world history. Also, I get to dress up like this, and let's be real, Sogdian fashion sense is best fashion sense. Now, Central Asian reenactment is still in its infancy. In fact, I've only been doing this for about 4 years, and to my knowledge, there's no other groups or individuals in the world focusing on the Sogdians. However, if you wanted to take part, or simply want to get in touch, just type Eran Ud Turan into all the normal social media channels, and you'll find me that way. Okay, keep in touch, and I'll see you later.
Thank you for the invitation, Andrew. I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing why I am a reenactor. If you don't know who I am, I call myself the Turnip of Terror, about to welcome be thee to my hall. I have always loved history. It's just always been something that's very engaging to me. I really enjoy the aesthetics of the late 14th and early 15th century. There's a lot of other places that I like the fashion style of, but there's something special and exciting and engaging and comfortable and attractive about the look of the late 14th and early 15th centuries. And it gives you this opportunity to be flamboyant in a way that just doesn't work in the real world. But dagging on your hood and jewels on your hat and feathers and brocade and velvet and gold, you can't quite touch them with a fancy pocket square. And don't even get me started on the armor and weapons and machines of war. Guns are cool, tanks are cool, but pole arms and swords and mail and plate, I mean, it's just so much fun. I also really love teaching. And there's something about being able to connect to someone when you create an environment where they feel and see and experience what it is you're trying to teach them that elevates living history, especially when you're talking about interacting with students or interacting with the public, to a level that you just can't get in a lecture. I love learning that way, hands-on. I love teaching that way. And of course, I really adore and long for, you chase that high of getting lost in the moment. A good immersion event, when you're wearing the right clothes, you're in the right environment with the right people around you, and the real world disappears off into the distance, and for a moment, it feels like you really are in the past. It's the closest thing to time travel I ever expect to be able to experience. So that about sums it up. It's fun to do exploratory archaeology and put your hands on the past and wear the past and experience it and live it. It's wonderful to teach it, it's wonderful to be it, and it looks awesome while it's happening. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Ian, Ocean, Nadeem, and Ari. If you'd like to learn more about what they are doing, check below for the links to their social media. As we have heard from everyone, there are a few different reasons to reenact. What everyone has in common is that they wish to connect with the past in a physical way to experience either the art, the arms, armor, the fashion, or food in person. Through reenactment, we can find out how things work, reconstruct tools and trades from the past, from simply sewing our own clothes to even the great reconstruction projects such as Guedelon, a medieval castle being reconstructed with medieval tools and techniques. Reenactors gain an insight into the past by doing, far from just people fighting battles, but we do that too. Reenactment is a hands-on exploration of history. Reconstructing the material items from the past is part of reenactment. If we understand how things were made, this can help us understand many of the other contexts regarding the time period of the society and activities taking place. The reenactment scene also has a great sense of community and camaraderie. I've personally made friends all around the world because of our shared passion. Our events are usually huge social occasions where we get together to display our research, camp, recreate historical events, and drink. So if you've stumbled on one of these videos or have been sent this by your reenactor friend and you have a passion for the past and this sounds like something you're interested in, give reenactment a try. You'll be very surprised. Oh, I didn't see you there. That must mean you must have enjoyed the video. So why don't you like, comment, and subscribe? And remember, stay safe, have fun, and keep reenacting.